Asian Food Myth, the business behind food brands. There is a famous quote stating that one man's trash is another man's treasure, and this cannot be more true than the story behind how Doritos was invented. Disneyland sought to provide an unforgettable experience when it opened its doors. Disney wanted it to feel like the American dream, full of energy, optimism, and innovation. Little did he know that it would become part of the legacy behind one of America's most beloved snacks. Before it skyrocketed to over $1 billion in sales, it was considered garbage and thrown away in Disneyland's trash. But it took a few entrepreneurial-minded Doritos heroes to lead to the creation of this worldwide famous snack. Make sure you stay till the end for our 3 tips we learned that will help you create the next big snack craze. Before we start spotlighting the heroes, here is a fun fact. Asian countries have a lot of funky flavors. While Americans enjoy nacho cheese and fiery sweet chili, Asian Dorito fans enjoy varieties such as wasabi mayo, stir-fry, butter and soy sauce, fried chicken, steak, sesame chicken, crab, and yuzu. It's hard to imagine nacho cheese is still the most popular Dorito taste with over 100 varieties available. Doritos hero number 1. Charles Elmer Doolin was ready to lose his family's business in the early 1930s. After their ice cream lost its quality, the Highland Confectionery in San Antonio saw a drop in sales. Since the companies who created them, Misto Ice Cream and Dairyland, entered into a price war, Charles had no influence over them. As a result, Charles decided to branch out into other products. Being observant, Charles met a Mexican gas station owner named Gustavo, who cleverly used a handheld potato ricer. He created corn chips out of a lot of flour, which he deep-fried in corn oil and seasoned. After working as a fry cook for Gustavo, Charles found something that would change his life. Gustavo wasn't happy and wanted to go back to Mexico and teach soccer. So he decided to place an ad in the newspaper and sell the company for $100. Charles was addicted to corn chips and saw them as a gold mine. He wanted to buy the company, but he didn't have that type of cash on hand. Fortunately, his mother was optimistic and believed that this was a great opportunity. So she took the risk and pawned her wedding ring for $80 and gave it to Charles. Charles told Gustavo that he would pay him the remaining $20 later. Charles named the company Fritos. Charles was a proactive entrepreneur and drove his Model T Ford across the Midwest, persuading store owners to sell them. Fritos was only one of many corn chips available, so it was a tough sell. Charles even took a job as a late-night cook to make ends meet and come home. Fritos sales eventually pick up, and Charles and his family find it difficult to keep up with the demand. He created them with handheld potato cutters, which is a time-consuming and arduous technique. Charles and his brother had learned a lot about mechanical engineering from their father. They decided to build a machine with a hammer to mass-produce the Fritos. Charles transferred his operations from his mother's kitchen to her garage, then to the house next door by the 1950s. Later, he constructed 2 manufacturing plants in Dallas and Tulsa, where he produced new goods such as Cheetos, which were inspired by Henry Ford, the creator of the Ford Motor Company. The factories were upgraded by adding an assembly line and a conveyor belt. Charles also began cultivating his own corn variety. He paid farmers all around Texas to grow many varieties until he discovered one that he liked. Charles was an ambitious entrepreneur and wanted to open a restaurant inside the happiest place in the world, Disneyland. Soon after Disneyland debuted, Charles persuaded Walt Disney, the company's founder, to allow him to build a restaurant in Frontierland. In exchange for corporate sponsorship, Walt granted him the go-ahead. Casa de Fritos was the name of the restaurant, and it featured a blend of Mexican and American food, as well as Frito creations, such as their famous Frito chili pie. Sadly, Charles Doolin passed away 4 years later in 1959. Here comes Doritos hero number 2. Jose Martinez, a Mexican-American merchant, founded the first masa flour mill in the United States in 1896, and it was an instant success. Jose was dissatisfied with the results. He was adamant about developing a product that would make producing masa, which was used to create tortillas, easier. Years later, it nearly put them in debt. It paid out in the end. Jose was able to manufacture dehydrated masa flour that could be mixed with water by anyone. Jose decided to make corn chips with it. He chose a triangle form with a medium thickness for use with dips. He was the first to market corn chips, suggesting that they be served with guacamole, salsa, or bean dip in restaurants. Next came Doritos hero number 3, Alex Morales. Alex's wife established a business selling tamales from a wagon around 1906. Later, he founded Alex's Foods, which won a contract to provide service to many of Disneyland's eateries, including Charles's Casa de Fritos. A salesman from Alex Foods noticed leftover tortillas and trash from Casa de Frito. He approached the cook and proposed that he fry them and turn them into tortilla chips. Instead of tossing them out at the time, Casa de Frito provided free Fritos with their customers' meals. They had never considered supplying tortilla chips. Instead, following the suggestion of the seller and adding his own unique blend of flavor, the cook made a tortilla chip that tasted nothing like a conventional tortilla chip. Customers became addicted after trying it. Without informing the Frito firm, Casa de Fritos placed them on the menu as a regular item. The Frito firm joined with H.W. & Company a year later and was named Frito-Lay. The Frito firm joined with H.W. & Company a year later and was renamed Frito-Lay with 4 main stars, including Fritos, Cheetos, Lay's, and Ruffles as their 4 key products. They made a revenue of $127 million. It wasn't until Frito-Lay hired an outsider, the VP of Marketing Arch West, that the company's revenue increased to billions. He not only made Frito-Lay's a national brand, but also marketed the tortilla chips. Arch West is the last Dorito hero. Arch was born in Indianapolis in 1914 to Scottish immigrants. His father died when he was still a child, leaving his mother to raise him and his brother on her own. She struggled to feed and clothe them as a domestic servant. As a result, she took the painful decision to place them in an orphanage. Arch worked as a traveling salesman and eventually as a Madison Avenue advertising manager after returning from the war. Despite growing up in an orphanage, he was not afraid of taking risks. He progressed from job to job and did well, but it wasn't because he was a superb formula solver. He simply had a strong understanding of what people would enjoy and be ready to spend money on. Arch began working for Frito-Lay in Dallas in 1960 as its vice president of marketing. In 1962, Arch was driving to Southern California and he pulled over to a small Mexican shop on the side of the highway between Los Angeles and Diego, interested, and ordered a small container of tortilla chips. It tasted like nothing he'd ever eaten before and had a crunch to it. Aside from the shape, the crunch was the most distinguishing feature that set them apart from Fritos. Fritos were fried cornmeal bits with tortilla chips that had been baked before frying to make them crunchier. Arch began to consider what he could do with tortilla chips. If Fritos tortilla chips were seasoned with different blends, they could then target different market segments by generating local favorite flavors, which was difficult with Fritos tortilla chips. The following big thing. When it was time to get back to work, he gathered his co-workers in a boardroom and offered his proposal. Why would a person in the United States want tortilla chips? They quarreled when they already had perfectly nice corn chips. They were concerned that Arch's innovation might eat into the sales of Fritos and Cheetos. When he originally pitched the idea to the Frito board, they were a little hesitant since it may interfere with Frito sales. He was so sure of his ideas that he discreetly used his own money in an off-site facility to build a facility to make his tortilla chip a reality. He also devised a new strategy for a second pitch. He would not only throw out samples to his coworker, but he would also sell them as more than simply tortilla chips. They were Doritos. Doritos sold well in the Southwest, where consumers knew the pointed tip could easily scoop globs of dip. He even proposed a more daring idea: make Doritos taste like tacos. He told his coworkers, and they laughed. But through a taste test, Arch's colleagues decided to be on board. By 1991, Doritos had become Frito-Lay's best-selling product, bringing in $1.3 million. The natural cheese flavor accounted for more than 60% of Doritos sales. In 2013, Frito-Lay teamed up with Taco Bell to release the Doritos Loco Taco, which sold 1 million per day and became one of the most successful fast food inventions of all time. Thanks for taking the time to stay with us till the end. 3 things we learned that will help you launch your snack brand. Number 1. Despite growing up in an orphanage, Arch West had the confidence to take risks. We don't need to have the perfect scenario to fight for our dreams. Number 2. You will encounter rejections. Arch had resistance inside the company, but he allowed people inside the company to taste his invention. This led to more fans. Number 3. When you are the creator of a product, you will think that it tastes the best in the world. Instead, get it into the mouth of people. This includes partnering up with restaurants. You will want to have a fast feedback loop so that you can improve on the product itself. Thanks for joining us today. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for our next video. Please also leave in the comment section which food brands you would like us to cover next. Asian Food Nerd, the business behind food brands.